Hi everyone. I hope you're having a good night. I'm gonna wait just a little bit to see if more people connect. And although this is a recorded, not a recorded, it's live right now, but it'll be available on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. I still want to see if more people would like to connect. How's your night? Mine is good. It's been nice to have a little bit of rain here in Texas, although, we are all aware and hoping for the best for NOLA and praying for all of that region because it may get really bad. We hope our friends are safe and all the people are safe. So, welcome everyone. This is a new chapter of definitely my life as a musician, as a person, as a presenter, I guess. And I'm gonna start by talking a little bit about what curandera is. There's some confusion and totally, we're still kind of figuring out the wording and how to best explain or to best talk about what Curandera series is. And I guess I'm gonna start with introducing or talking about what a curandera is. So a curandera is a traditional folk healer that uses natural elements to heal and offer comfort. This tradition has served as a sort of reminder of our indigenous ancestors' old rituals. And these traditional curanderas, curanderos, y curanderes have solid roots and connections within indigenous communities and teachings. So in this case, for the Curandera series, the openings that we are hoping to create and communication in the real lives, thoughts and feelings of people within our nuclear community of San Antonio and also our extended community in Mexico. We will talk to musicians, poets, artists, bakers, lawyers, nurses, officers. We talk to everyone. We want to talk to everyone. And it's important to talk to everyone in a moment in the world, at least in my perspective, in which we no longer talk, not only because of COVID, but also because our differences have made us a little more scared to talk to one another, I believe. So although music is at the center stage of these series, this is not like the concerts that I've done before. The difference is that in this series I do put a lot of attention on my original songs, which is something that I've never really done in the past. I've always kind of put the traditional music up front, and my music is always kind of like there, but not really. I haven't really made it important for it to come forward. So also I want to share that curandera was born from my own need to find something real. And what do we do, or how do we deal with those feelings after we lose ourselves to streaming services or social media rabbit holes? And we naturally realize that due to our need to use services and social media more and more to connect, we are also more vulnerable to these rabbit holes and and you know, and naturally they're carefully planned rabbit holes. Some of them are chismes, some of them are news, some of them is just about shopping. I mean, they seem sometimes very like, oh, you know, what's gonna happen if I watch another TikTok? Well, you know, 1 hour later, and you're learning, you know, you're watching a parrot say a bunch of funny things, right, for an hour. So, I mean, at the end, all of these things, all of these distractions kind of take away from what's happening. And I think we are all experiencing different things. It is a new world, and we're still trying to make the best out of it. We have fears, we have challenges, we have problems, and plus, you know, we have COVID, and there are many choices that we have to make, and every choice we make has a consequence. And how do we deal with that consequence? And how do we deal with the ability to connect to those deep parts of ourselves, and to give each other permission, or to give ourselves permission to feel even bored, you know, in just a tiny moment, just feel bored. That stillness, that moment of connection within is important. So hopefully this Curandera series is about hopefully inspiring of some tools in hearing someone else talk about their own fears, about their own challenges, about their own struggles. Hopefully it'll inspire us to do something different, you know. And instead of maybe watching another TikTok, you can write a little line for your next poem. And it doesn't matter how, and it doesn't matter, you know, if you think that is good or not. It's just the moment of taking the time. So I'm super thrilled that my first guest in this Curandera series is Vocab. Andrea Vocab Sanderson is San Antonio's Poet Laureate. She is amazing in every moment that I, you know, experienced her presence, her thoughts, her artistry. She's just an amazing human being, and I really am honored to call her my friend. And let's go with this first talk with Andrea.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
To begin the conversation, I wanted to see if you would like to share how did you first realize that you, as an embodiment of creativity, how did you realize that you had the ability to heal yourself through words?
Well, I feel that I have known since about the age of 4 years old that there was healing in me. I grew up in a family where my grandpa was pastor, and so all my family knew how to. Their love language was church. And that's what they do. And that's what they've always done. They're all ministers, and they work in the church field. And we would always have these home Bible studies, home church services. And as a part of that, we would, I guess, what people would call like limpias or whatever, would lay hands on each other, pray for each other. And I remember being like 4 years old, and maybe 5. I was very young. But my aunt's boyfriend, who was the father of her children, he knelt down before me and he was like, "Will you pray for me? Will you pray for me?" And I remember like laying hands on him and you know, like on his head and saying a prayer. I don't know what the heck I was talking about, and feeling like this energy or the spirit of God kind of like flowing through me. And when that moment happened and the way he reacted, he was like, "I feel different. I feel changed. I feel healed." I just remember the joy that kind of rinsed over me. And I was like, I want to do this for my life. Like, I remember this voice inside of me is like, you're going to do this. This is what you want to do. Like, it was, me talking to myself and maybe God talking to me. And also, when I was 13, a very sad story, I lost a friend who was murdered by her boyfriend. And I wrote a poem for her memorial service. And the process of writing that poem was interesting because I had an arts teacher, Mrs. Linda Bowling, who had me come in her classroom, and she kind of led me through this breathing exercise. And she was like, channel that hurt, that pain, and all those thoughts, channel that into a drawing, just start drawing. And as you draw, it's going to start to come together. And as I began to sketch a tree. And as I began to sketch that tree, like then words came, and I moved from drawing to writing words. Wow. And I read the poem for my friend Krisha. I read the poem for her memorial service in front of her family. And I remember how it felt like sharing these words, seeing that they resonated with people. And I've just always been like, from that point on, I was like, I'm not going to let your death be in vain. I had a conversation with her, even though she's, in the afterlife. I was like, I'm not going to let your death be in vain. I'm going to remember you. I'm going to use this as fuel to keep going. And I really have. On days when I feel like so hurt, I think about how she died and how maybe if she had some kind of mentor or art had found her first, she wouldn't have got wrapped up in that situation. And you can't blame her because that boy was troubled and he had issues, but, I feel like art can save people, and I feel like art can heal. And that's what I've learned through some of the life experiences I've had, like you said.
Mira qué chula piedrita para darme un tropezón.
It's amazing to hear Vocab talking about, being so young and the ability to process such a strong emotion. And also how young we are when we see that there is healing in ourselves. And it's important for me to mention something. When I talk about healing, I mean the moments where we can give ourselves something that we need, like, for example, I love my dogs, they're right here, they're eating their bones. That to me, that heals me. And paying attention, giving them time, spending time with them, that is healing. I love stretching, some call it yoga, but I really do need it. Not only need it, but I feel that it reminds me that my body is important, and that is something that is for me. It's something that it's my thing, something that I find important. That doesn't mean that when I feel sick or when I feel, that I really need to go to the doctor, that I don't go to the doctor. Obviously, I go to the doctor, and I don't think that that everything, I believe that everything is integrated. Like, I believe that there is a space for everything. There are moments when that someone needs to someone that you trust, someone that you love, needs to place their hands on you and pray for you. And there are moments where we need to see the doctor and take care of that ear infection because of the allergies. So, talking about doing things that are just for ourselves.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
To begin the conversation,
within,
I wanted to see,
like you mentioned,
would like to share
this moments of
how,
depression, right? Like, I also
did you
spent a lot of
first
time by
realize
myself,
that
and
you as a
depression
as
is
an
always kind of like
embodiment of
lingering in the
creativity,
background, kind of like saying,
how did
like,
you
hey,
realize that you had the
right
ability
here.
to heal yourself?
Shut it down. Don't do nothing.
Hang on. I had a little moment of something did not work. correctly. So let's go to another video.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
And do you think so? The other day that we were talking, we were getting ready to record what people are going to see later, this songs together, and you said something about, you were showing me some of the music that you listen to, and you said something, about your creative process and hearing something that kind of stuck to you and meant something to you at the moment that you were listening it to, and then grab that feeling and make it your own. Can you talk a little bit about how that process of yours?
Right. So I think it's just like energy. Words have life in them, and they spark things in us, and they bring things to light. They bring things to surface. It kind of breathes on things that are kind of dormant in us sometimes. And there's this song by this gentleman named Talib Kweli. And in the song, he says, "You must live in the infinite black that exists when I close my eyes." And when he said it, I remember the first time I was like, "What?" And I went back and listened to the song again. I was like, did I hear this right? And I began to just I memorized the line that he said, and I would say it to myself like all the time. And I was like, what could he mean? Let me think about all the ways that he could mean this. And I mean, right after he says the line, he continues to explain it. But I was like, I want to go deeper and dive into that. And I'm going to use this line to write my own poem, because there's influence and inspiration like everywhere if we're listening, if we're looking, if we're open to that. And so I sat with that line for like a month, and just would say it to myself, think about it. And my mind, my spirit tells me, I guess it's my spirit. Yeah, my spirit tells me it's time to write a piece. Like I'll literally hear an audible voice say, it's time to write that poem. And I'll be like, you know what? Yes. And I'll start the writing process. But it's a very spiritual experience for me when I'm writing. And it's definitely, I mean, it's emotional, but for me, it's even more so spiritual, because I do a lot of prayer and I do some soul searching when I decide to write.
And do you think, I mean, there's a moment that the inspiration comes and you listen to it, and there's a moment where you have to kind of like discipline yourself to do it, right? Because sometimes we don't feel like doing it, and
Right.
we kind of, like you say, you listen to a part of you that says, well, too bad you don't want to, you have to. What do you do when you don't want to write? When a part of you is like, no, I'm tired, I barely slept, I just don't want to connect to that. Is there anything you do?
Yeah, because sometimes we don't want to dig into those emotional spaces. And sometimes it's just the legwork of doing a little research and finding out, because we got to do our fact checking. We got to read a little, we got to listen to other things, other people sometimes, and have conversations before we can write our pieces. When I don't want to do the writing, but I know I got to do the writing, I'll write a little bit and then I'll stop, and then I'll do something, and then I'll come back and I'll write a few more lines. And it's just, even if it's just like a 5-minute break, I'll give myself these breaks. And sometimes I have to I'll switch up my writing process. Like sometimes I may I'll write with a voice recordings, or I'll do pen and paper and try to do that, or distract myself. Even though I'm focused, I have to distract myself a little bit. Yeah, that's how I get through the moments when I absolutely don't want to write.
So Vocab recently released an album, and it's called Elevated. So this next piece is from that new album, and if you can, well, you have to find a way to stream it, to find it either by Spotify, Apple, YouTube. It's quite amazing. And we did a version of her piece called Elevated Melanin.
We've been experiencing a series of tensions building up. There aren't enough poster boards or hashtags to comfort us or quench the fire burning in our civilly unrested citizens who take to protesting in the streets. This is for those who suffer in silence and bear the burden with no relief, but we still hold fast to the belief. We believe our change will come, no matter the situation. Those that operate in hate will be blinded by the gleam of my melanin or the light of gems embedded in my diadem. There is an emancipated glory beaming bright as orbs jettisoned from beneath our skin. I am still forged from beauty even when I'm struggling. They can never purge our virtue by any means of degradation. And again, I believe our change gon' come, no matter the situation. For jubilant and exuberant is the melanin of our skin. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And from despair we have arisen. We have a promise and a crown that awaits us in a higher skyscape. May our hopes ascend to those golden streets and pearly gates. We will lift off in sessions in flight, taking our rightful place. Our wings are expansive, for we have already arisen to a better state. A better state, been reading prophets while meditate. Appreciate one in our own town, shake the dust, fix my crown, so split the ground. My words profound, monuments and mountains, I chant them down. My voice resounds, I've found the script. Watch the text as the wisdom drips out my neck. Incredible, tattooed text is indelible. I express this so hard in the paint. The Eucharist, so I toast with saints. Eucharist, so I toast with saints. Soul with eagle, so I never faint. Word so holy, never taint. I levitate to a better state. A better state. Soul with eagles to a better state. I levitate. Yellow drip, I levitate. Golden tin, I elevate. Do it for the darker shade. Do it, watch the haters fade. I watch the haters fade. Yellow drip, I levitate. Golden tin, I elevate. Do it for the darker shade. Do it, watch the haters fade. I watch the haters fade, fade, fade. Yeah, yeah. I watch them all fade, all fade. SATX in the building. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Y'all shake them haters off.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
Within, like you mentioned, this moments of depression, right? Like I also spend a lot of time by myself, and depression is always kind of like lingering in the background, kind of like saying like, hey, right here.
Right. Shut it down. Don't do nothing.
And for me, I started during the pandemic, and of course, missing my family, not being able to connect. I started kind of listening to another piece of my creativity that is definitely not meant for public, right? Maybe we can share it with friends, or maybe I haven't yet. But do you have something like that? Do you have like a process where, in music or in writing, where it's like, okay, this is just for me. This is just so that I can get through this moment, and maybe it'll come something, but really it's just for me.
That's a good question. I feel like there have been times when I have, but mostly no. I remember when the pandemic first started, I thought about my grannies, because my grannies are such good, strong, powerful influences in my life. And my grandma, Dorothy, that was my mom's mom. It's my mom's mom. She used to make biscuits when she was alive, and the biscuits were like, we're going to beg you to make these biscuits. You have to make these biscuits. The entire family is going to come together and ask you, petition, put ourselves at your mercy so that you can make these, because they were just delicious. And I was like, when the pandemic started, I was like, I have to learn how to make biscuits because I'm not a baker. I just don't. I barely cook. I'm pretty good at cooking, but I just don't cook because I'm always just eating out. I'm always on the go. And so I was like, I'm going to learn how to make some biscuits because I'm going to do it as a ritual to honor my grandmother. And so that's something I did. And I think about kind of little things I can do for moments of honor for the people in my space. And so I do those occasionally, like something will come up in my heart and I'm like, I need to take some time to do a little something for that. And that's the most private part of like maybe I'll wear something that is a symbol. I'll do that, I guess, also. So yeah, I guess there are those little things. And a lot of times it's honoring the matriarchs in my family.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to take a moment to also thank the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. It's been challenging. We've all been through challenging moments, and the Esperanza always amazes me in how the center, the heart of the Esperanza, is able to bounce back from difficult situations. So, Amy and Graciela, un abrazo y las queremos mucho. Also, I want to acknowledge the women. There's always so many people behind anything that is put together, right? And at the end of this program, we're gonna finish with a video. And before I forget, I want to acknowledge the people that made possible that video, and also the fact that Vocab, Tamara, the Carver, Michael, Ceiba, all these beautiful people, and the beautiful space of the Carver, but mainly Vocab was open to share this collaboration with you all today. So I'm very, 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 very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with this group of women that, like I said, you know, I not only admire and love, but I am also honored to call mis amigas. So in this next part, we're gonna, when I start talking about the COVID challenges, and if you have some challenges that you want to share, of course, you know, feel free to put them in the comments. I am able to actually see the comments, and I thank you for them.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you and ask you in this conversation, in this plática, is, with COVID and things changing and this new world of people having less and less time to socialize, and that is important. As you and I were talking the other day, just that moment that we shared together at the Carver, all of us with Tamara and Ceiba, and that joy that it brought us, you kind of save it and make it last for the times that you have to work by yourself. And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with that loneliness that sometimes as a person, let alone the creative process that we all need to share or be in the same pot to kind of let the flowers bloom, but just as Andrea, I guess, if there's such a thing.
There is an Andrea. and she's a very real part of all of this. This whole experience that I'm having in life. And sometimes I'm like, who is she? And I feel like she gets lost in the sauce a little bit, and then I have to dig her up out. But I mean, to be very candid, I'm going to be candid, and you can share this. I don't care, because people need to know I'm a real human being. Trying to date is really difficult, especially in this season. I've had to do online dating, which I can't stand, because the guys that I've met in person, they got weird. It's like I had a couple of experiences since this pandemic has started, where I kind of met guys. Like once I was like leaving, I had just gotten a pedicure, or no, I had gotten a manicure. I got my nails done, and I was leaving the nail shop, and this guy pulled up because he wanted to get a pedicure and stuff like that. And I was like, and he was like, "Are they still open?" And then he was like, "Say, you look good." And I was like, well, thank you. And we started a conversation, but then he got weird. But it's yeah, like he was like, I do fans only, and I wear a mask, and he started talking about voyeurism and all stuff. And I was like, this is too rich for me. Like, you telling me too many things. I don't. We sit down, have several seats, dude. But it's really difficult to find. I'm going to call it balance for right now, because we get our gratification from going into our spaces. We have to be an artist, or we feel like we're going to die. Like we got to express ourselves. That's just part of who we are. But then there's the other aspects of our life, like cleaning our house, or hanging out with our family, or having friendships, going to our other jobs, whatever they may be, and trying to balance all of that. I can't say that I have found the recipe or the format and the formula. I just can feel parts of me saying, I'm neglected, focus on this. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And so, I mean, sometimes I need my family. Honestly, my sister is my rock. She keeps me from diving nose deep into depression sometimes, because she's like, you're spending too much time in your room, you're spending too much time isolating, you're doing too much of the this and that. And she helps me recognize my patterns. I have conversations with myself saying, hey, this behavior is not the most positive thing. Maybe you want to switch this up and do something different, because it's going to lead you down a destructive path. And we have to have these conversations with ourselves, like ask myself, what is the motivation for me engaging in this behavior at this time, or doing this, or not doing something? Because I should have been doing this, but I'm neglecting it. Why am I neglecting it? What am I not facing? We have to have these I call them come to Jesus moments with ourselves, where we're like, I need to fix this. And I can say, like, family a lot of times is my rock to help me with that. And then these reflective times, because I spend a lot of time by myself. I work in an office by myself. This pandemic has been kind of isolating, but I do spend a lot of time in public too, like doing shows, taping things, working with beautiful women like you. Like I never stopped working during the pandemic, like never, not 1 minute. And it's been a lot.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, during the pandemic, you became, and congratulations again, you became Poet Laureate of San Antonio. So, how it was impossible, even if, how can you say, like, no, not right now.
No, you hold on to that position that I wanted more than anything, hold on to that. Let's wait till this passes. We couldn't do that. So and then I've talked about it in a couple of instances. I became a civil rights leader because they had all these police killings of, African Americans. And in addition to, and it was like, you're not just a poet. Now you need to talk about all of this that's happening there. And also, can you do this COVID safety song? And also, can you do this and do that? And it was like, okay. And I had to have some time to think and be like, God, where am I? Prayer is everything to me. Like, I had to talk to God every day, all the time about this stuff. Cause I'm like, I don't know, but you know, so can you give me the tools? Can you give me the strength? And I'm making it.
You are, and you're not only making it, you're beautiful, beautiful spirit, beautiful woman.
Hey there. Again, thank you so much for spending part of your night with me, with us. I want to mention that the next piece is a collaboration. It's a song that, right? Vocab is such an inspiration. I agree. I agree, Joy. She's not only a powerful woman, but she also has so much wisdom and so much work. You know, you can tell that her spirit, her whatever she brings to the table is very honest too, and comes from an honest place, which is something that I really, really appreciate. Before I forget, also, I want to say that to remind you that yes, listen to the album that Vocab just released called Elevated. Also, check out her series. She's doing a residency at the Carver, and it's called, she's doing it with Tamara, and it's called Breathe, and it's presented, yes, by the Carver. I am going to do the next song. Is called The Serpientes. This next song is an original song. I wrote this song some years ago, and different versions have come from it. This is a song in which Vocab and I collaborate, and also with Ceiba.
En la luna, en ti amore.
Hi again. I enjoyed so much being able to spend time, and like I was saying, you know, these experiences with Vocab have been really, really important in my process, in my mind, in my life, because yeah, I mean, I don't go out much anymore. Definitely presentations have diminished, not completely, but you know, it's just different. And these moments that we have to share, you know, or work with one another, it's just so important. And naturally, there are moments where, you know, we doubt ourselves. We, all of us, you know, it's a human thing to doubt ourselves, I think. And these doubts get reinforced as we isolate more. So I think the more we just, you know, do what we need to do and put ourselves out there, the better. I'm going to go with the next part and the final part of the Plática with Vocab.
Desde el día en que te he visto, le he dicho a mi corazón.
It's always hard to tell people, you know, like how to break the ice sometimes, because every person has their own way or their needs. But is there anything you can, if you know, if you were in front of a person saying like, okay, yes, I want to maybe try to write and rhyme and use a little bit of poetry or words to let whatever is going on in my mind or in my spirit, let it go or let it fade or whatever, just let it come up, suggest to begin?
Start small. Don't try to write your novel out the gate. Don't try to get that whole manuscript done out the gate. Start with a couple of sentences and then celebrate the fact that you got those out, because there's a myriad of things. There's so many things that are biting for our attention every moment of the day, from our anxieties to children, to spouses and significant others, to financial needs. There's always something that's going to be at the forefront of our mind that we're worried about we have to handle. But try to give yourself permission to stop for a second, to create something and reflect. I feel like God put us here to create. I believe in the creation story of Adam and Eve, and God told them to be fruitful and multiply. And our fruitfulness and our multiplication is not limited to making babies. Our fruitfulness and multiplication is to making more of what we have. And if you are a woman of color, definitely you understand the concept of taking something small and making more of it. So start with the small thing, the little thing. Maybe it's just a couple of words. Maybe it's an emotion. Maybe it's a melody that you picked up, and develop it, add to it, refine it, shape it, and celebrate the fact that you did it. And then try to keep building on it until it grows. Because we put more pressure on ourselves than other people a lot of time, if we be honest with ourselves. And sometimes that pressure is completely unnecessary.
Wow. I would like to thank you for being here. I'm honored to call you my friend, and I celebrate you.
The F word. I love the F word.
And thank you. Mil gracias por todo lo que haces, Andrea. You are truly an amazing spirit. Gracias.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop.
We love Vocab. Donde quiera que estés, si lo estás viendo, Vocab, we love you. So, you know, after I listened to and took advice, my personal journey is to follow the advice of our guests, right? So I have had for a while, I've been kind of trying to write un corrido for my grandmother, right? Because she was such a character, you know. She was born in 1898. She lived through the Mexican Revolution. She was a rural, well, she went to school to become a rural teacher. She was born in a place called Tuscacuesco, Jalisco, you know, a lost little pueblito. And she couldn't become that because of the Mexican Revolution. So the family forced her to become a maid. And it's you know, it's a story. It's a really sad and strong story. And I followed Vocab's consejos, and I'm happy to say that I'm almost done with that corrido. I'll be sharing it next time. Next time is going to be corridos. You know, we're going to be celebrating las fiestas patrias and Latino Heritage Month, Latina Heritage Month. So the next series, or the next concert, live stream concert, is going to be corridos. I am going to finish tonight's presentation with something super special. And this is just amazing. It's amazing to see it complete. And it really brings us back to the beginning. So Vocab, a couple months ago, Vocab invited me to be a part of her series and to be the guest of her series. And she wanted me to use one of my songs, or she wanted me to give her a song so that can be used for her, so that we could collaborate. And I thought, yeah, I'll just write a song for this, you know, for this moment. Whatever I'm going through, I need to write a song anyway. So let's just, you know, I'm gonna do this, finish it, and then send it to you. And of course, throughout this process, my process of writing is always kind of like un pasito pa'lante, un pasito para atrás, dos pasitos pa'lante, un pasito para atrás, right? Like a step forward, two steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 back. So I'm just kind of like testing always where I am and feeling it, you know? So I had something done, and then I was like, no, this is not really the feel. I don't think this is what she wants. So I completely changed it. And then when we got together, we tried it. And of course, you know, Vocab is so beautiful. She was like, yeah, we can work with this. I really didn't feel it much, you know. I was just like, well, it's not bad. It's just not. So I went back to the original idea, and I'm so glad that I did. And this is the song. It's called Lanzo Mi Voz. And Vocab's poem is called, I'll tell you what it's called. Well, you'll see it. It's in the credits. So anyway, thank you so much, Vocab, for pulling this song from me. And thank you so much, Ceiba, for playing so beautifully. She plays the flute, and you'll just be amazed. And Ceiba is the main character of the video, and you'll see just how beautiful it all came together. Thank you again, Michael Gomez, Tamara, everyone, the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. And I'll come back after the song.
Lanzo mi voz con ancestral precisión, divinas flores vuelan, divinas flores corazón que tu alma espera para abrir tu corazón, que tu alma espera. Nuestras raíces filtran cientos de años de violencia, se sanan en mi canto y a ti en flores llegan, se sanan en mi canto y a ti en flores llegan, benditas curanderas, benditas curanderas, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu.
Floral fragrance fills the atmosphere. Fears and faith push past a lifetime. Flashes of petals and instances gone by. I try not to sink in this dichotomy of hurting and healing. The scars of centuries and bloodlines bathed in the belief that grief can subside, and the pride of my identity can be fertilized with beauty. Understanding myself in this drawbridge between the space of new beginnings and old wounds, I lower it to the level as I wish to walk across. I bid my heart a safe passage and I carry blooms of forgiveness beyond the threshold. This is a ceremony, an internal journey of self-acceptance.
Nuestras raíces filtran cientos de años de violencia, se sanan en mi canto y a ti en flores llegan, se sanan en mi canto y a ti en flores llegan, benditas curanderas, benditas curanderas, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu, y newa newa saniku y canitu.
Amazing, right? It's just beautiful to see the movement that Ceiba and the sounds. It just came together really, really nicely. Again, thank you so much to each one of these people, to each one of these women, and thank you to San Antonio, to the Esperanza, for being always open to whatever we are creating, all of us cultural workers. So this is good night. Next Noche Azul is going to be, well, next one, it is going to be a Noche Azul. Tonight is a different thing. Curanderas is a different thing, as you kind of experienced. we'll let you know who the guest is. And it's important to notice, and for me to say, that all of the Curandera series is original music or really old traditional music. But definitely each episode is going to have an original song. Again, thank you all so much. And we'll see you next time. Muchísimas gracias. Buenas noches.